Hi, Randy the Mobile Home Guy here again. So today we're going to be talking about how to bring a swamp cooler up onto the roof of a mobile home. So we're going to put this up on top, so we'll be installing a swamp cooler on a roof today. Okay, so we're going to get into bringing this here swamp cooler up the ladder there. So really the ladder is going to act as a sled to get it up there. So we're going to eventually put the swamp cooler here and slide it just up the ladder there. But we can see on this ladder that it's got these pieces, so if we slide it up here it's going to hit. So on this particular ladder we're going to turn it around so that when it gets to that point it just slides off and on. We'll kind of look at how that is going to go, okay? Okay, so we've unpackaged the swamp cooler. You really want to get a good look at it. Sometimes you want to do that at the store, but they have it so wrapped up that you can't really see much about it as far as, you know, damage or anything. But we found the customer delivered this one here at this job site and it had some damage on there. So you just want to kind of make sure you note that to the customer before anything else. You know, you want to make sure, hey, look at this, see that. So okay, today we're going to make the base for this swamp cooler. So we're going to want to make the base here on the swamp cooler so it envelops the whole hole there. Okay, and we're going to want to make it just inside of this drip edge here, this overflow, so that this is on the outside of the frame once it's installed. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure and see how far we can go. And on this one, looks like we're at about 27. Do you see where we're measuring here? Just shy of that. Up to about this point here. Okay, so to about right here. And then past this. Okay. So that's going to be 30, okay? So the base is going to need to be 30 by 27, and we're going to make that into a wedge, and we'll look and see how to do that. Okay, so our wedge portion of the base needs to be 27 inches, so we're just going to mark 27 inches here. We're going to measure 27 inches, okay? We're going to square that up this way and here, okay? And at that 27 inches with this particular roof, it's a 6.5 inch drop. So we're going to need to measure 6.5 inches, okay, on this side. And then we're going to go to the corner right here, like this. I'm going to draw that line, okay, something like that. Okay, and that's going to be our one side of the wedge right here. And what I like to do while we're at it is I'm going to measure this side 6.5 inches down, okay, here, okay, and then we're going to do the same thing, so that's going to be the other side of that wedge. So a 27 inch board or a 10-foot board or whatever you're going to do will get you all the pieces you should need in order to make that base, okay. So we're going to make that measurement there, cut that. So what we're going to do, we're just going to cut this off, okay, and then we're going to cut this, and then cut here. Then there are two pieces for a wedge, and then out of this portion, the next portion of the board, we'll make our 30-inch diameter width of the base, okay? All right, so we're going to do the front part of the base for the swamp cooler now. So it was 30 inches wide was our swamp cooler, but the wedges are going to fit on the outside of the base, so we need to subtract the width of them, which is 1.5 inches. Then there's two of them, so times 2. So 3 inches minus 30, 27. So we're going to mark 27 here. We're going to square that up. Okay. And our depth at that this pitch is going to be 6.5 at 27, 6.5 inches. And we're going to go a little bit less than that. So I like to do about 6.25 because we have an angle there basically. So 6.25. Okay, this will be our bottom part of our base, okay? So we'll cut that. Put this base on portion here. Okay, so this is the base that we're going to use. Put it on there. So this part of the swamp cooler, okay, it's gonna be the outside, and there's the bottom. So it's gonna sit flat like that. This portion on the roof This portion makes it flat, okay? Like that. Okay, so now we have the swamp cooler at the base of the ladder here. So we're gonna see, here's the swamp cooler, okay? Here's the ladder. We've turned it around so that once it gets up here, the swamp cooler will kind of fall back down and go. We have it wedged up along under the gutter, which is really great. If there's no gutter, sometimes you gotta put your foot there to hold the top of the ladder or try and secure it somewhere without messing up too much up there. Also, on the swamp cooler, we want to make sure the heavy side is towards the ladder, so we don't want this side over here. We want it to kind of stay kind of on the ladder as we slide it up there. So we've put the rope on, and we can see the rope we want up here. We've gone through there, okay, gone through there like that, okay, and we've connected it together. So it looks something like this. Okay, so we're up the ladder, we're ready to pull here. Do you see kind of what we're doing here? So I like to put a few knots in my rope. We're going to slide it up the ladder and grab it. So okay, now we're going to put the wedge or the base on that the swamp cooler is going to be sitting on. That way it'll level it up on this sloped roof. So we have it right here. Okay. We're going to put it here like that. Okay. All right, we're going to do some measuring, and then we're going to lift it up here. We're going to seal all of this all up here and all along the side there, okay? And then we're going to attach this base to the roof, and we're going to put some elbows here to do that. Okay, so now we're going to have to install the motor. So what we're going to do is, in the new swamp cooler, there should be a lot of bags of things. There should be a pulley for the motor. There should be some brackets to hook the motor to the housing. There should be a wire tip we can use to plug in a little bit later, okay? And so we're going to need to get to the back of the motor in order to do that. So the motors unfortunately don't come with the swamp cooler, so you have to buy those separately. So we'll loosen these two screws and we'll plug these wires in. There's a ground wire. Always hook up the ground wire first, they say. That way, in case something's going to get shocked, then it always gets into the ground of the appliance you're using. Red is low. Black is high. You try to remember these because pretty soon you're going to have to deal with about 16 different wires. Okay, and we're going to put the plate back on. Okay, that's simple. And then we're ready to plug this in. So we're going to put this up inside the unit. Phone calls are always nice. So then we're going to put it up inside there, and we're going to make sure these are really tight. Put the straps on there, put the pulley on there, align it with the other pulley, and then we're going to put the belt on there. Okay, so we've installed the motor and the belt. So we've put the brackets on there, okay, and we put the pulley on here, and we made sure that it's tightened. The Allen wrench is really super tight on the flat part of the shaft of the motor, okay, and then we've also tightened this adjustable pulley. See, it'll move inside and outside of itself to make it so that it'll go more RPM. So we've adjusted that correctly and tightened that. And we made sure that this pulley is lined up straight with this pulley this way, in and out this way, okay? We made sure that those are straight in line, because otherwise it'll wear the belt, okay? And then we've installed the belt. The belt's pretty easy to install. So you just you got the belt, you put it on here like this and wind it on like that, okay? And as it shows us right here, okay, we want to be able to have 3 pounds of pressure will move this 3/4 of an inch, okay? So if not, it's too tight. And if we're moving this really in and out like this, it's too loose, okay? So we don't want it super tight and we don't want it super loose, okay? 3 pounds of pressure per 3/4 inch, okay? And now we're ready to deal with the wiring. Okay, so swamp coolers have a 5-wire application, because there's 3 different settings. One is a low speed for the motor, a high speed for the motor, and there's also a pump setting, okay? So what we get is we get these 5 wires. And what we need to do is find out which one of these is common. Most often, of course, it's the white one, okay? White is common, but people hook them up different ways sometimes. Sometimes they're confused on how that goes and they're not hooked up correctly. So we need to test that before we hook it all into our swamp cooler. A way of testing that is to turn the switch to one of the settings that alienates each individual setting. So we wouldn't want to do any of the cool settings. We'd want to do something like vent high or vent low or pump. So if we go down below and we turn it on to pump only, we're going to put our tester on one of these, one side of the tester on one of these, and then we're going to test each and every one of those, and when we get power, we'll know that one of those is common and one of those is pump. Okay, so then we're going to go downstairs again after having noted those, and we're going to turn it to low vent. Okay, and then we're going to have to guess. We're going to put it on one of those ones that we found hot before, and then we're going to put it on the other wires. And when we get that, say we get power from this white and this red, but when we turn it on pump only, we got power to this here and this orange, that would mean that this would be the common between those two. Okay, so that would mean that this was the common, this was the pump, that was the low, and then if we go down below and we test common and we put it on high vent, we test common and high, okay? And of course then the ground is going to be separate. Please make sure to test those really accurately, because you never know what they're going to be. Okay, we can see the base of the swamp cooler is now installed with the swamp cooler on top of it. So you can see we wanted to make sure that that drain is outside of the base, so that when it drains in the sun, the winter there, that we won't have to worry about getting it inside or anything. Again, we can also see I sealed it from the inside and it's scooping out there. So we want to seal the sides, the top, but we don't want to seal the bottom, okay? Theory being, if water gets inside of that base somehow, some way, that it doesn't flood inside, it'll kind of run out. And theory, of course, is that water won't be able to go, you know, back up in that way. It won't be able to go up in there. So, well, that's the base there, and that's how it's basically installed on a base. Okay, it looks like the swamp cooler is basically complete. We got it all situated here. Got to put a couple sides back on. We've tested it and everything. I like to do, when we do the float, I like to do that little curve in the rod going there, so that water will drip off of there and not run along the little piece and fill up that float, because that's a common problem that we have, where water runs out of that little valve up there down the rod and then fills up the float. So if you put that little piece there, that little angle there, it'll drip off of that and won't come down the rest of the rod. So this is about how full we want it. We don't want it to the top. We want it a little bit lower than that, so it doesn't run over once you turn it off and these pads kind of drain for the evening or that kind of thing. So that looks like that is about it. One more installed swamp cooler.